So I think those captured on the battlefield should be tried in military tribunals. I see no reason to bring them to the U.S., and I've never been in favor of civilian courts. Now, my opponent brings this up all the time, and he has this one quote, and I'll read it for him since he's not here to read it. He reads part of this quote at every Lincoln Day dinner, and he says in the quote that I will drop them off in the battlefield. You know, the people we've captured, just send them back to fight again. My exact quote is that we were talking about, remember the Chinese Uyghurs, sort of obscure, but there were these 20 Chinese Muslims that we decided, we captured them in Afghanistan, but we decided not to try them. I guess there wasn't evidence or whatever, but our military decided this under the Bush administration. So there was a couple choices. Do you want to bring them to the U.S.? I said no. I think it makes no sense to bring them here. Maybe they are potential terrorists, but I don't want them here. The other choice was, and this is the one they chose, which I think is a stupid decision also, we spent $250 million sending them to a South Pacific island. They don't know the language, they have no relationship with these people. We just said, we'll send them there. And I said, if you can't convict them, if we decide not to try them, then I'd send them back where we found them. And it's not a perfect solution, and they may well be bad people, but you have to make a decision. And I don't think we as a country want to just keep people forever without trying them. Military tribunals have attorneys on either side. You know, I see some members of the armed forces, if they're ever accused of something, I hope never, but they will have a lawyer on both sides, and they acknowledge that that's the way it'll be. I think the terrorists could be tried adequately in military tribunals and should be.
What do you think about Guantanamo Bay? Should that be closed, or what should happen?
But you know, even George Bush said eventually if we get rid of all of them, he would close it. So did Mike Huckabee. So I don't think it's that far out there to think of eventually closing it. But I do think that for right now, the big question is you have to decide what to do with the people you house there. And there's about, I don't know, 793 there. And we do need to make decisions on them. And I think the best decision is trying them down there and keeping it open until we have a better solution.
We're on our final round of questioning with the panel here, so Mr. Alexander, ask your question, please.
Dr. Paul, what actions would you support to end or reduce America's dependence on foreign oil?
Any and all solutions. Some of those would be drilling for oil, which would make sense in our own country. Look at England. England's now energy independent because they drill in the ocean in the North Sea. They have huge, vast oil beds. We don't drill offshore. I mean, we do a little bit here, but we don't do new wells anywhere off the Florida coast. I don't think we do any new wells off the California coast. They won't drill in Anwar, and yet we are having to protect basically the oil supply of the Middle East, and we're not drilling in our own country. We should allow new forms to develop, new forms of energy. We haven't built nuclear power plants in who knows how long. There's been a rule in Kentucky we can't do it. That's one thing the state legislature finally voted on recently, to allow nuclear power plants to be built again. They will take a while to come online, but that's not an argument against them. We will continue to burn coal for several more generations, and that's a big industry in Kentucky, and I've been a big supporter of keeping the federal government out of their permit process, allowing them to mine the coal. 90% of your electricity in Kentucky is from coal, and if you stop coal production, the lights go off and you'll be having candles. So it will be with us for a few more generations, but it's not to mean that we can't also be in favor of other forms of energy.
Very good. Moving right along, Mr. Blanchard.
We have 60 to 100 trillion dollars, depending on the source, in unfunded liabilities over the next 20 years in entitlement programs. This is, of course, absolutely unsustainable. Former Comptroller General David Walker says that this trend is left to itself. We will not even be able to fund essential national defense programs by the year 2030. What is your plan to scale back entitlements? When and how much?
And that's a difficult question because, see, most of the people looking at the budget now, Obama's now trying to act like a conservative because he's going to freeze. He tripled the rate of spending and the non-discretionary spending. Now he's going to freeze it, which is not going to do much of anything. But you do have to look at everything all across the board. There are going to have to be some tough decisions on entitlements. The bottom line is there used to be a bunch of workers and few retirees, maybe 7 workers for every retiree. Now there's one worker for one retiree, and there's a pinch. And that's why you can't be in favor of a new $1 trillion program for Medicare, because the current system's already stretched for money because there are less workers, we're living longer. So there have to be some tough decisions on Medicare and on Social Security. And ultimately, they're going to mean some things that none of us really want, but we're going to have to accept. It's going to have to probably be higher deductibles for Medicare. You're going to probably have to raise the age. We already have raised the age for Social Security. When Social Security was passed in the 30s, I think the life expectancy might have been 65 or something. Now the life expectancy is 80 or 80 plus, and we're going to have to, unfortunately, change some of the rules on the entitlements. With regard to unfunded mandates, I think we need to obviously stop them at the federal level, but I think at the state level, we should start challenging them in the courts to say, how can and some people are talking about this with the federal government, with the health care, how can you tell us here in Kentucky that we all have to buy insurance? Do we not have the freedom to decide whether we want insurance or not? What about the Mennonites who are, for religious reasons and community reasons, don't buy insurance? You're going to put them in jail? That's ultimately what it'll be. It'll be a $25,000 fine. You don't pay the fine, you're going to go to jail. But this is a person for religious reasons doesn't buy insurance. And they take care of their own. They're actually very good people. They come and pay the doctor. They pay cash when they come in, and they negotiate also a price, which is probably a better form of negotiating price than we have. But yeah, we have to stop it. And I think at the federal level and at the state level, working both directions.
Very good. That concludes the portion of this program as far as questions and answers from the panel. And now we want to give you an opportunity to come and ask your question, Dr. Paul, and you'll find this microphone right here in the middle. And if you would just